On March 31st, 1995, one gunshot inside a Corpus Christi motel ended Selena's life and stunned millions. The evidence, including financial betrayal, obsession, and a desperate 9-hour standoff, still guides every decision about Yolanda Saldívar's parole. When officials denied release through 2030, they cited more than just the law. What makes this case so different, and why does parole remain out of reach after all these years? At 11:48 in the morning on March 31st, 1995, a single shot rang out inside room 158 at the Days Inn in Corpus Christi. Selena Quintanilla, just 23, staggered out into the hallway with one hand pressed to her right shoulder. Blood trailed behind her, marking each step as she moved nearly 400 feet toward the motel lobby. The bullet, fired from a Taurus model 85-38 special revolver, had entered near her lower right shoulder, breaking ribs, tearing through her upper lung, and cutting the subclavian artery. The damage was catastrophic. Internally and externally, she was losing blood faster than anyone could save her. In those desperate moments, Selena's focus was clear. She managed to reach the front desk, collapsing as she called out for help. She called the name Yolanda, and she gave the room number, room 158. Even as her body failed, she named her shooter, making sure there was no confusion about what had happened. Witnesses would later recall her voice, urgent, determined, fighting to be understood. Motel staff dialed 911. Paramedics arrived within minutes, finding Selena unresponsive, her breathing already shallow. The wound's path left little chance for survival. As they rushed her to Corpus Christi Memorial Hospital, the reality set in. The injury was fatal and time was running out. By 1:05 in the afternoon, Selena was pronounced dead. In less than 20 minutes, a single gunshot had ended a life and changed countless others forever. Yolanda Saldívar did not attempt to flee the scene. Instead, she left room 158 and locked herself inside her red pickup truck parked just outside the motel. For more than 9 hours, police negotiators surrounded the vehicle, working in rotating shifts as the Texas sun faded into night. Saldivar held the revolver to her own head, threatening to take her life if anyone approached. Officers pleaded with her through loudspeakers and phone calls, trying to keep her calm and coax her into surrender. The standoff stretched from early afternoon until nearly 10 p.m., tying up dozens of law enforcement personnel and shutting down the area around the Days Inn. Throughout the ordeal, Saldivar alternated between silence, sobbing, and claims that the shooting had been an accident. Negotiators later described her as erratic, sometimes lucid, sometimes lost in panic. While this tense negotiation unfolded outside, detectives inside the motel began piecing together the evidence that would anchor the prosecution's case. Among the items recovered were bank statements, ledgers, and boutique inventory records, documents that would later become part of the 122 exhibits presented at trial. These records showed unexplained withdrawals and discrepancies in fan club dues and merchandise sales, pointing to a pattern of embezzlement. Prosecutors argued that Saldivar's financial betrayal was not just a side issue, but the driving force behind her confrontation with Selena. The sheer volume of paperwork and the methodical way it was cataloged helped build a narrative of trust broken for profit. This evidence, gathered in the hours after the shooting, would become central to the legal proceedings that followed Saldivar's arrest and surrender. In 1995, the Quintanilla family's grief became a public event. Abraham Quintanilla, weary yet composed, stood before cameras and spoke of Selena's kindness and the deep betrayal they felt. Their pain was unmistakable, their mourning forced into the spotlight. Over the next decade, the family's words shifted. By 2005, at the 10-year anniversary, their message turned towards celebration. Press interviews and tributes highlighted Selena's music, her generosity, and the joy she brought to others. Suzette and Abraham urged fans to honor Selena's legacy through kindness and remembrance, their tone hopeful despite the loss. In 2015, the 20th anniversary brought reflection. The family released a commemorative video blending archival footage with messages about healing and community. Abraham spoke of lasting pain, but also gratitude for the blessings Selena's life had given. Forgiveness and acceptance began to shape their public voice. Approaching 2025, with parole review looming, the family's stance grew protective. Their statement after the board's denial expressed relief and thanks to supporters, affirming that justice and Selena's memory must be safeguarded. Decades on, the Quintanilla family's public voice stands as a testament to love, resilience, and the enduring weight of loss. Texas law sets a clear threshold for parole eligibility in murder cases. For a life sentence like Yolanda Saldívar's, the first review comes only after 30 full years have been served. This rule is written into the Texas Government Code, applying to all first-degree murder convictions since the early 1990s. Good conduct credits can sometimes reduce time for lesser offenses, but for murder, the calendar years must be met in full. Reaching eligibility does not mean automatic release. The Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles uses a detailed process to evaluate each case. Board members study the original offense, looking at the facts established in court, such as the use of a weapon, the nature of the victim's injuries, and the impact on the victim's family. They also review the inmate's entire prison record, from disciplinary actions to participation in rehabilitation programs. Risk assessment tools play a central role. These are standardized reports that estimate the chance of reoffending, weighing factors like prior criminal history, age at the time of the crime, and institutional behavior. Victim impact statements, often submitted by families or community members, are also reviewed alongside psychological evaluations and recommendations from prison staff. All these documents are gathered before the board meets to vote on parole. The decision is based on whether the inmate poses a continued risk to society and whether release would honor the seriousness of the original crime. On March 27, 2025, the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles released its official decision regarding Yolanda Saldívar's parole eligibility. The board's memo said that Yolanda Saldívar remains a continuing threat to public safety, and that the gravity of the offense, coupled with the impact on the victim's family, outweighs any rehabilitative progress demonstrated to date. Accordingly, parole is denied, and a subsequent review is scheduled for 2030. The language left little room for doubt. The board weighed the brutality of the crime, the loss suffered by Selena's family, and the ongoing pain felt by her community. No mention was made of disciplinary records or program completions. The offense itself and its aftermath stood at the center of the board's reasoning. The immediate response from the Quintanilla family echoed the relief and resolve that have marked their public statements for decades. In a message released through Selena's official channels, the family said that they were grateful that the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles had chosen to deny parole for Yolanda Saldívar. They added that while nothing can bring Selena back, the decision reaffirms that justice continues to stand for the beautiful life that was taken from them and from millions of fans around the world far too soon. The family expressed thanks to supporters and called for Selena's life to be remembered for her kindness and music, not the tragedy. With the next parole review set for 2030, the official record now reflects both the state's judgment and the family's enduring commitment to preserving Selena's legacy. Selena's music did not fade after her death. In the weeks that followed, sales of her albums soared. Dreaming of You, released just months later, entered the Billboard 200 at number 1, the first time a Latin artist achieved that milestone. The record eventually went multi-platinum, with more than 5 million copies sold in the United States alone. Across Texas and beyond, radio stations played her songs on repeat, and fans lined up to buy memorabilia, keeping her spirit alive in the public imagination. But the impact reached further than the charts. Selena's absence left a noticeable gap in Tejano music. The genre, which had been on the rise through the early 1990s, struggled to maintain its momentum. By the end of the decade, industry reports showed a drop in Tejano album sales and a shift in label investment toward Latin pop and regional Mexican acts. Music historians point to Selena's loss as a turning point. Her crossover potential had promised a new era that never fully arrived. In recent years, interest in Selena's life and work has surged again. The 2020s brought renewed streaming of her catalog, fueled in part by documentaries, tribute concerts, and a new generation discovering her story online. Anniversary releases and digital campaigns have drawn millions of listeners, while fan petitions and social media activism have kept her memory at the center of public conversation. As the next Parole review approaches in 2030, Selena's legacy continues to inspire both celebration and vigilance, reminding the world of what was lost and what still endures. Selena's legacy continues to shape music and memory, while the law weighs both harm and hope. Each parole denial reminds us that justice is not only legal, it is deeply personal. For families and fans, the impact endures long after courtrooms close. Share your thoughts about justice and legacy below.